Hey everybody, Ron here. Today I want to talk tourney. That's right, little play on words there. Uh, so with TCKA now doing live tournaments on our trail event, and some of you guys are going to be traveling to lakes that you've never fished before, this gives me an opportunity to share a little bit of what I've learned through fishing KBF trail events for bass, and it applies to the catfishing tournaments and could be helpful for you guys. So I figured what we'd do is I'd go through a little bit of what I do to prep for a tournament, whether it's catfish, bass, it doesn't matter. It's the same, yet different, if that makes sense. You know, it's the same process, but I'm looking for different things. Um, Now each one of you may be, that varies up. You're looking for something different than I would be looking for, but I just kind of wanted to give you what my mindset is, how I start to prepare uh, months away from the tournament. I'm literally doing homework and digging and everything else. So, with that thought in mind, we'll jump into this. Okay, by far, this is probably the most important tool in my arsenal in the early stages of prepping for a tournament. As you can see, I have a folder set up inside of my phone with all the apps that I use involving tournament fishing. So, let's start with Navionics. Some of you may be familiar with Navionics, some of you may not. I think right now we are looking at Kentucky Lake. Go figure. Alright, so if you're not familiar with Navionics, basically it's topographical maps of lakes. Gives you contour lines. You can look at the bank line, things of that nature. You can use satellite imaging on the Navionics app to kind of give you ideas of what the bank line structure is. It'll show you where docks are, things of that nature, creek channels, humps, ridges, saddles, all the kind of things that you would be looking for to try to figure out what habitat the fish are going to be using. I spend a lot of time in this app in particular. It's probably one of my favorite tools for prepping for a tournament. The next tool that I use quite a bit, Google Earth. Google Earth gives you the ability to look around for things that you might not see on an app like Navionics. So let's do it like this. Let's see. That's Memphis. Here we go. There's good old Kentucky Lake. So whereas Navionics gives me topographical mapping, with Google Earth, I can almost kind of see from an aerial view what's under the water. So those same humps and ridges you can almost make out on there. Grass lines and things like that, you'll find that sometimes on Google Earth, and it's also very helpful to kind of zoom in, look at the bank line structure, as you can see there. And also, I use it a lot to just kind of scan through bank lines and look for boat ramps that most people might not even think to look for or use. Maybe that gets me closer to a really good spot or something like that. So Google Earth becomes a very important tool. My TVA Lake Info app. If you're on the Tennessee River chain, or you're going to fish the Tennessee River chain, you want the TVA app. It will allow you to see what is going on at every dam controlled by the Tennessee Valley Authority. So right now on Kentucky Lake, you can see they're generating 180,000-ish, which for those of you that don't know what that means, it's moving. You don't want to be out on the main channel in a kayak. That's what that means. All these great lakes in here that you may end up fishing in a TCKA trail event. So that's very helpful information. Fishity I don't use as much as I probably should, but Fishity also has topographical mapping, and it has saved points from other anglers inside those apps, or inside those maps, along with more boat ramps, things of that nature. So that can be very helpful. A barometer, I'm sure you can understand what that barometer is for. Something else that I do with my phone as far as tournaments go, when it's tournament time, typically you have an earliest launch, you have a line in, you have lines out, and check-in. I will set alarms for every one of those on my phone. So as soon as earliest launch alarm sounds, I paddle away from the boat ramp. As soon as line in sounds, hopefully I'm already at my spot and I know that I can start legally fishing. Line out, that alarm goes off, and a lot of times I'll even set that alarm for a half hour before line out and then for line out. That way I've got an idea of when I need to start wrapping it up, making sure that I'm running out of that window of opportunity to get that fish picture loaded up. If I do make the catch, how much time is it going to take me to land the fish, get the picture, get it uploaded, that sort of thing. And then check in. You will get disqualified if you don't make it to check in on time. So you want to make sure that you make it to check in on time. It's another great part about the mapping stuff. I will use Google Maps after I'm done with Google Earth and Navionics and figure out where that boat ramp is in relation to check-in to make sure how much, I know how much time I need. Because sometimes I may be fishing farther away than what line out to check-in time is allotting. So my line out effectively becomes sooner than everybody else's if I want to make it to check-in on time. These are the things you have to think about and keep in consideration and work around as a tournament angler. And that's on top of making sure that you've got good bait and figuring out your spot and making sure that your tackle prep is all done and that you've got good line. As many variables as you can eliminate that could go wrong, the better off you will be. Some of the more successful tournament anglers that I've met and listened to, you hear them talk about something called fishing clean. And that is something that I'm working very hard to get better at myself. Fishing clean basically means that you didn't have any mechanical failures with your equipment. You didn't miss a bunch of fish. You landed the fish properly, you measured the fish properly, recorded the catch properly, and taking the pictures and so on and so forth. And yeah, all those things combined equal up into fishing clean. If you're not fishing clean, if you're making mistakes or your gear is failing on you, things of that nature, it costs you greatly in the time that you're spending on a tournament. Tournament fishing is a lot of fun, but at the same time you have to remember that it puts you on a time clock, and that can be a little bit stressful for a lot of people. But at the same time it also makes you a better angler, because you have to work around that and you have to work through that, and you have to hone your skills on top of all the rest of that. So hopefully these tools, you guys can start trying them out and using them, and maybe this helps you. Maybe for some of you it gets to be a little bit confusing in the beginning. That's okay. You know how to get a hold of me. Message me. I'm always happy to help as much as I can. Or take this information and look for other videos that can explain it more in depth and far better than this old jerk does. Because I've learned it from other people, and there's far better videos out there explaining it all. Well, that's going to wrap it up for right now. If you have any questions, like I said, just reach out to me. Thank you all. God bless.